Anything that's
All
going
right,
on the
you
weekend,
ready?
I say no, but I try to put everything in order. It's all
Yes.
Already? Let's
Yes.
get started. So call to order our city council work session scheduled for today, May 22nd. Review what's going on Thursday, and we'll start out with roll call. Ms. Adams, invocation by Councilman Rodriguez. He won't be here. He's on the line. Are you here yet there, Councilman Rodriguez? Not yet, but I'm pretty sure he'll ping on anytime now. We have the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Landry, acceptance of agenda, and we'll have our city manager report, sir.
Thank you, Mayor McCaw, members of the council. Again, it's mostly road repairs. So the shared use path on State Route 92 from Ebony to Cochise to Foothills, those bids will be opening June 6th. Len Roberts Park pathway repairs and replacement. Those proposals are due on May 28th, and we're trying to get that done before the end of the fiscal year. Annual street maintenance, also trying to get done by June 30th, and a lot going on out in the streets, so be careful there. Garden Avenue is started with scheduled completion for December. And then the MLK reconstruction from Avenida Escuela to State Route 90 is expected to be complete in August. And I'm sure I'll have some more for Thursday.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions, comments for our city manager? Hearing none, we'll proceed on to our agenda for Thursday. Start off with item number 3, resolutions 2025-038. Liquor license for Jimmy Valenzuela. Staff report, Ms. Adams.
Mayor McCaw, members of council, this is an application for a new Series 12 liquor license, which is a restaurant liquor license for Jimmy Valenzuela on behalf of Piccola Casa Italiana, which is located in the mall at the food court. The notice of the public hearing was posted on the facility and has been posted. Will be posted the required 20-plus days by the meeting on Thursday, and no comments have been received pro or con from the public. The applicant's background was conducted by the police department. They have no objection to this license moving forward, and if approved on Thursday, it will be returned to the state for final action.
Excellent. Any questions, comments? Approved liquor license. All right, thank you. And we'll go to our next item, item number 4, resolution 2025-039, staff report. Mr. Felix, good afternoon, sir.
Mayor, members of council, actually, the next 3 resolutions, I guess my meeting, all tie together. As you were given a presentation a couple months ago in regards to the situation at the sewer plant, in addition to there's some lines that will be needed replaced in the thing, we're proposing the rate increase for 15% for the sewer fund, with the first increase going into effect July 1, 2025, and a second increase going into effect July 1, 2026. In addition, the refuse fund has had a lot of increase in costs in vehicle maintenance, fuel, and other things, and we're proposing a 10% rate increase, one in July 1, 2025, one in July 1, 2026. The net effect for a residential person with a 65-gallon can is about a $4.41 a month increase for this first rate increase, or they'll notice their bill will go up $8.82 because we do bill bi-monthly. For the resident with a 95-gallon can, you're looking at about a $4.80 increase. It will come up to $9.38 in their bi-monthly bill. Year in advance will also go up, but the year in advance people do still get the 10% discount. This does only affect residential or commercial businesses that use a side loader truck, which are the same residential rates. This does not affect commercial because the commercial is pretty well kind of locked in with waste management, and the commercial also has the larger the profit margins because refuse is a volume business, just like recycling is, which is why waste management, when they went to the legislature a few years back, only wanted to poach commercial. They did not want residential. So that is the effect of these. Sewer is an across-the-board increase for all businesses and residential. Per law, you have voted on the 60-day public notice. The cash has been, their financial statements have been put on record with the city clerk They've also been posted on the city's website. We've received no official pros or cons to any changes of the rates. The next item that ties to this, because we do have the connection fee increase in this resolution, is the suspension of the police, fire, parks, and infrastructure development fees. When we started the study a year and a half ago, due to the slow growth rate that we were looking at, and the fees that we have to do every so many years, we have to go out for a new study, we have to have audits of the things. We really were not going to generate that much revenue for the amount of growth that we're going to have and the rates we're going to have. To really generate any revenue, we'd have to more than double the rates for the impact fees. So it was deemed it was better to shift the money over and increase the sewer connection fee, which is not technically a development impact fee. It is under the sewer ordinances. And so we're going to shift and reduce those 4 fees to 0, increase the connection fees, and about $198 per house will be saved for the builders building residential properties. And because that's the second resolution, the suspension, and the third resolution is the police and fire impact fees still have negative balances from the construction of Fire Station 3 and the police station expansion. And there's a small balance in the infrastructure development fee and the park development fee. The infrastructure development fee will be transferred to the HERF fund so that will be used for the extension of BST towards the American Academy. That is one of the roads that is in for development impact fees. And the other amount of money will be transferred to the Capital Improvements Fund, where we have budgeted Roadrunner Park, and that money will be used on the first phase of Roadrunner Park, which is budgeted for next year, which is also in the study as an allowable expenditure. Be happy to answer any questions you may have, but that is all three combined into one explanation.
Excellent. But we have to vote on it separate, all three.
Yeah, right.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Great, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So we will vote separately on those three, since he included all three of them together. All right. Then we have the call to the public and comments from the council. Are you on now, Mr. Rodriguez? Okay. All right. So we'll move on. That'll be for Thursday, and for today, we have the fiscal year 2026 budget updates. Good news, Jen.
Mayor and members of council, this is a quick update on the rest of the balanced funds and also any changes from the last presentation. So all the funds have been balanced, and so far the total balanced budget equals $124,743,032. This number can definitely change before the tentative budget vote. We're still waiting on the League of Arizona Cities and Towns updated state shared revenue figures. And then also any projects that are not expected to be completed by the end of this fiscal year can still carry over into next year and be added into the budget. So the highway user revenue fund is balanced with only one additional capital item from the last presentation. So a street sweeper has been added to the list for $440,000. The 10% down payment came from adjustment to the O&M line, particularly in maintenance. They're going to save some revenue, or they're going to save some cost from repairing the old sweeper. So that's going to go as the down payment. And then the rest of the cost will be financed, and that's added as notes payable. So that's why the revenue has increased on the previous line. So the current sweeper is 23 years old and is experiencing a lot of mechanical issues, and it has a hole in the body. And then also the parts are really hard to find nowadays, so they need to request a new one. So the grants fund is balanced as well. O&M for grants consist of specialized supplies for PD, for the ICAC forensic equipment, DUI task force equipment, and then professional services for animal control. They use the Arizona license plate program here. Professional services for fire, specialized supplies for fire, that's the car seat and the helmets. specialized supplies for the library. These are the Friends projects and the tech resources, and then also CDBG projects. So here's a list of the capital projects for the grants fund. So the local border support is a carryover from last year. Homeland Security grant that opens in fall, and that's for hardware and software support. The OHV for the LE grant is from the Arizona Parks and Recreation, and that's to replace the side-by-side with possibly two, and then request a trailer as well. Garden Canyon Linear Park is a carryover, as well as Soldier Creek Park. And then the Veterans Monument at Veterans Memorial Park. That is a congressionally directed spending applied by the Sierra Vista Veterans Memorial Improvement Foundation, which the city would be a direct recipient if approved. The Diamondbacks grant is a placeholder, and then the disc golf improvements is a T-Mobile hometown grant, and then scoreboards are an innovative grant. Any questions on the grants? So there's been a few changes to the airport fund since the O&M personnel and capital presentation. The taxi lane rehabilitation between the T hangars project has increased by $109,000. We've added a well number 1 replacement. So at the airport, they need a spare pump in case the old one goes bad or in case it needs to be serviced. And then they're also requesting to replace 2 of the old generators for $220,000. So I'd like to also point out that lines 2 through 5 for the main apron and the taxi lane, those are also grant funded.
I'm sorry, which one was grant?
So the spaceport license is grant and airport funded, along with the next 4 lines for the main apron area, the portion of the apron area near the self-serve fuel, the taxi lane between the 2 hangars and the self-serve, and then the taxi lane between the 2 hangars. Those are also the lines 2 through 5 are mainly funded through the FAA and the ADOT grants.
Thank you.
So sewer made some small adjustments to their infrastructure maintenance and travel and training lines to balance the fund. But they're going to wait on the collection study and also the gator for now and chose only the Riverstone project to carry over until fiscal year 26.
What is the Riverstone project?
That one I'll defer to Chuck.
Mayor McCaw, Councilman Jones, the Riverstone project is a project that is being undertaken by the Cochise Conservation and Recharge Network. We've been given the responsibilities to pull that project together, and Ms. Flassar is acting as the project manager for the project. It's a parcel of land about 3 miles south of Mosen Road, next to the Sprinka. And the plan for that is to move some of our treated effluent to the south there for recharge next to the river in that area. So then we'll be recharging from 2 spots.
Good job. Good to know. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Additional note, so the funding you see there, the $925,000, that is a grant from a organization called Repi Challenge. So that is a 100% grant for the design and permitting of the project.
And that comes through Department of Defense.
So the refuse fund changed only slightly from the last presentation, with 2 additional capital items going into fiscal year 26. So those items included are the 30-yard roll-off containers for $40,000, and that expense will be offset by the incoming rental revenue. The second item is going to be the truck packer rebuild, which is a replacement of the refuse truck packer components to prevent the replacement of the entire truck bed, and that's going to be also for $40,000.
Jen, sorry, excuse me. You said the roll-offs are going to be offset by the revenue we collect for renting them out.
Yes.
And how long does that take to recoup that money?
Payback time,
The payback time?
yeah.
Oh,
Right.
thank you. Need a translator, I'm not a big accountant.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, that completely depends on our rental rates. So what we're currently experiencing right now is that we do have a shortage of roll-off containers at times. So there is a ebb and flow in that season, and it depends on how long that season does continue. But I don't have an exact number for you right now, but I can get that an estimate if you'd like.
Like how much does just the roll-off rentals bring in yearly? Or
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I can get it for you if you would like, though.
I'm wondering how long it'll take to actually pay for itself. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, absolutely.
So those are the main highlights from the changes from the major funds. The next step is going to be the tentative budget book on May 23rd, so this Friday. And then you'll have your one-on-one council meetings the week of June 9th. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Again? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And we will continue. Item number C, council executive report, sir.
Thank you, Mayor McCaw, members of the council. We're heading into the summer months now, so obviously we have a lot of the street projects going on, which I just mentioned. Also, the legislature should be wrapping up by the end of June. Knock on wood, so far, cities and towns, at least when it comes to Sierra Vista, have remained relatively unscathed by the machinations of the legislature so far this year. Of course, they haven't balanced the budget yet, so there's always things that can occur at the last minute. So we'll keep an eye on that. We're also interested because our delegation is trying to get us money in the state budget to help us with the spaceport as well as our wells at the golf course. So that would be nice if that happened, and we'll keep our eye on that. As Jen just mentioned, the budget books will be coming out at the end of the week here, just in time for Memorial Day reading. So I know you'll be looking forward to that. We'll have the individual meetings scheduled, and then the week after will be your formal budget presentation for the benefit of the public primarily, since you already had a number of briefings on it, but that's another chance for you to ask questions and make sure that everything is the way you would like to see it. So with that, staff is here to answer any other questions you might have with regards to the executive report.
Any questions on the executive report?
I have some
Yes, ma'am.
comments.
Go.
Oh, and Councilmember Rodriguez sent me his as well, so I'm going to comment on every page real quick. So, just joking. But it's,
40-some pages.
I know, it's a
No,
long one.
no, it is always good to bring attention to this because there's a lot of really good information, and I always appreciate all the information that comes from all the departments and stuff. And it is something that I wish that more members of the public would reference. I think it would answer a lot of the questions. But a few things I wanted to highlight was in the Parks Department, the employee spotlight on Nate Gluck. So he is working as a in the aquatics team as a lifeguard. And so some of the things that it says about him is he has a commitment to safety and teamwork, and that's really helped the overall performance of the team. And he's earned respect from his peers and his supervisors. I think that's really great because teamwork makes the dream work, right? So that's really great to have somebody. Because when you work with a good team, it really makes work a lot more fun. It's more fulfilling too. And he also is involved in the Buena mountain bike team, which is pretty cool. And then for his future, he's looking to join the Air Force, so that's pretty exciting too. So I just wanted to recognize him and all that he's doing there to keep people safe. And then another thing that I wanted to talk about was for the visitor center, the Sierra Vista Adventure Guide app. It's had 198 downloads, which is great. That's a whole lot better than 0 or 5. So people are out there checking it out and making the most of their time in Sierra Vista. And it's probably a good thing for even residents of Sierra Vista to check out in the surrounding areas, because sometimes when we're driving around on our routine day-to-day, things kind of just blend into the background. And so there are probably things that that anybody might not know about. So I would definitely check that out, because it looks like it's pretty popular. So something good. And then I really appreciated the information about the animal shelter and the various expansions, like the kennels and the shade area, phase 1 and 2 expansion there, some of the different upgrades, the washer room, the drain gate, and then a little bit of the plans there that kind of show a little bit more information about all that's been done. Sometimes if you don't go there and you don't know what's going on, you might not realize all that's been done to enhance that and make it better for the animals there, and then the people, the volunteers and the workers there as well. So I really appreciated seeing that in there. And then the last thing that I wanted to highlight was in the police department, the employee of the quarter, which is multiple employees. So records clerks Barbara Ledger and Lynn Saltstein, and patrol bureau technician Holly Sheriff. So they've been recognized with their teamwork to eliminate a backlog of traffic accident reports and then requests and stuff, which I imagine it's probably difficult to keep up with all of that. So within the span of a quarter, they caught up with all accident report requests and then made progress in finalizing reports from 2024. So that was pretty cool. Teamwork does make the dream work, so it's really cool to see them highlighted, working together, getting things done, and just making our community better. So I wanted to give them a shout out as well. I appreciate that, and that's the last comment I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I had a question on the general plan on Engage. Do we have a feel for what kind of comments we're hearing about why the general plan was not approved?
Mayor McCaw, Councilmember Jones. I think it'd be premature for me to brief you on that, but Community Development Director Matt McLaughlin has been receiving all the comments and would probably be the appropriate person to speak to you about that at this point.
Comments have been received?
To date, I haven't checked the report for the last couple of weeks, so I don't want to misspeak, but
I don't have the report up, but here's a quick summary if you want to get any of that Matt sent.
That's fine. Go ahead.
I apologize because I know Matt just briefed the P&Z, so I don't want to misspeak or speak for him.
I won't sue you because you're wrong.
But obviously, there's been 67 contributions in the March-April report. There have been more to date, but I don't think there's been a significant change.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
On public work grants associated with the airport, it says staff are going to pursue DCIP funding for the airport one more time. When will we know what the status of that pursuit is?
We were trying to figure out who was going to take it. So Mayor McCall and Councilmember Jones. So the Defense Communities Infrastructure Program, same one that did EMS Station 4 for us a couple years ago. So the short answer is I don't know. They put a warn notice for funding as of 1 May, and the Department of Defense still has not released that grant. So we are working through a letter of support through General Applehans as the senior commander, and then I'll work with Irene and her team on really the grant proposition. We expect the submission should be mid-June, but again, things in the Department of Defense are rather in flux. So expect a June, submission. That'll be our third run. We've kind of taken the feedback that we've gotten on the last two. The short answer is they've taken it from military value, which is the highest of the values on the piece, and they've tucked it into resilience the last 2 years, partly because it's wastewater and resilience, so we're trying to work our way through that. And last year, the only projects that were funded were in fact military value. So that's kind of the trick in this equation. I'd like to tell you, I know Irene and I were talking briefly before, but they haven't even released the notice of funding. So we expect it to be cut in June. That gives them the opportunity in July to make the decision in the Pentagon. They'd let us know in August, and then they've got to have everything signed and dotted in September before the end of the fiscal year.
Sir.
And Mayor McCaw, Councilmember Jones, this is, as Tony mentioned, this is our third run at this, and sometimes we're successful if we're persistent, so we keep trying. And this one is definitely worth being persistent on because it's about an $8 million project to provide sewer service to the facilities at the airport. So we'll keep trying. I think we have a very good story to tell with the 200 acres and everything going on there with the spaceport. So hopefully this third time will be a charm.
So when we're telling our story for the grant, are we not, is it the way we're telling the story that they keep putting us in? I'm sorry, I know you just said that.
Go ahead,
But
Tony.
the military value, are we not making the case that it is a military value project? Is that why it?
So, well, here's what we know. So Mayor Pro Tem Humphrey, so realize it is a cross-department group of folks that meet in the Pentagon, so Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. The feedback we've been given is letter was strong. The description in the military value piece, we write it and present it as a military value case. However, the committee makes that decision, and they have been so 2 years ago we talked about water resilience and the impact of Fort Huachuca. Well, we all know that that's truly military value, but trying to describe that to them. So last year we stripped out the water resilience piece and we focused on the mission set. This year we're actually taking advantage of the JTF border mission and the congestion on the fort side. So we've kind of continued to tweak and adjust the story. There's 4 specific criteria for military value. We're going to be a little more specific this year to see if we can walk, again, they're looking through somewhere on the order of about 130 packets. They screen the packets, bin the packets, and then once you get moved out of military value, for instance, the last 2 years, none of those have been funded. So wastewater, it has that weird tendency to look, and to be direct and honest, when you start talking about fire stations and substations, which is where we started, interestingly enough, there's been a series of about 3 to 5, 3 or 4 of which have reached out to us, or reached out to me, and we've talked to them about how we've gotten there. Some of it comes into the value or the perceived value. So again, we had a great feedback with, sadly, I can't think of her name. The outgoing colonel. Now, she did not sit in the room, so it's one of those, it's a very protected process. So we got a few notes that they took, and then those notes were transitioned to the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. So again, as Chuck said, when we've gone to the ADC meetings, they encourage you to continue to go and to continue to jump into this because there's a little bit of persistence, and you'll notice some people, it takes you a couple runs to get there. So we are doing our best to get the feedback, make the adjustments, and get the writing. But at the end of the day, it really is just a packet that sits in a room where a group of folks get together and make a decision. So we kind of have to pull all the potentials out and really try to walk it in a very simple and complete story. EMS, if you go back to EMS 4, it was a wonderful story linked to the IGSA and the ambulance service, and it was very compelling. We've talked sewer, but trying to run that line on a sewer is just a little bit more challenging. We've even talked to a couple consulting firms at the Association of Defense Communities, and quite frankly, they said they wouldn't take the project. So, however, I do think the JTF border mission gives us a different piece and part today.
Right, and I don't know if you had, General Appelhahn's letter of recommendation last time, or who you had. I know General Potter helped us get the EMS substation, yeah, and so that will make a difference.
Yes, it was General Appelhahn's last time, so.
And Mayor McCaw and Mayor Pro Tem Humphrey, it's also been different reviewers and different feedback each time.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Right. It is a bit of a moving target slightly. And the Secretary of Defense puts different emphasis on it. So understand when we did EMS 4, that was actually quality of life. There was some pushback from Congress the next year because they funded the money and then they went back to military value. And the director of OLDCC stood on a stage and he said, for those of you that can get to military value, congratulations. It is a bit of an art and a trick. And if I can be very blunt, the discussion was the mission will fail if this project is not done. That's what I was told. I take some real issue with that on a moral and ethical basis. So we will write the grant within the story as it is, and we will make it as compelling as it is, but we will do it, the right way.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to thank Tony for, you've been making lots of trips, so you can.
I didn't move
leave
this
somewhere.
time, so.
Yeah, but thank you for doing that. That's it, thank you.
So you're saying a sewer line isn't sexy?
Unfortunately, I know I have lots of people supporting the sewer line here today, so necessary, but.
Not as fun as a fire station.
I've got a question on page 28 about sales tax collection. I don't really understand the chart. I don't know if people have a copy, but above it says privilege tax collections were up 131,000, I guess, from January, but it goes on to say we're up for February and down for March. But if I look at the red columns for February and March for the FY25 actual, it looks to me like the collections in March were actually more than the ones in February. Am I misinterpreting that chart?
I'll have to go to my spreadsheet and check the formula, but that's what it
It was
should be.
just a question.
Yeah.
Was that a yes or no?
He's going to the spreadsheet and check the formula.
Oh, okay.
He might have found an error.
Yeah. You might find it. So we'll get back to you on that one. All right.
We'll get the answer.
Yeah, he'll get the answer for you.
Okay, I've got some questions for the fire chief. Brother Jones. So if we look at page 36,
Oh, here's 20 page.
it says there were 8 fire calls for service in March. But if I look at the chart on the next page, 137, I see apparently 30 calls for fire alarm and 20 calls for fire assist, which is a total of 50. So I'm not sure which of the, and those are the top 10 calls.
Right.
I'm not sure which of the total calls shown at the bottom of the page represent 8 fires.
Mayor McCaw, Councilman Jones, looking at the data, the way that the fire calls are distributed is different. Actual fires means an actual fire. If a false alarm is just like a fire alarm at the middle school or wherever. Hazardous condition could be a power line down or a gas spill at the gas pump. And that's where they're defined. I'll have to go back and look and see why the numbers don't equal out to 50 and 52. So,
Okay, and then on page 38, I'm just trying to understand the categories of vehicles. E201 is an engine, I assume.
Mayor McCaw, Councilman Jones, that's affirmative.
M201 is an ambulance.
Yes, engine 2, all the E's are fire apparatus and the medics are the M.
And then on the next page, 39, TK202 is a fire truck, and that has a ladder, which a other fire engine does not have. Is that the distinction?
That's affirmative. The engines are just fire apparatus, a truck, and then we have a tower. The tower is a 100-foot platform, and the truck is a 100-foot stick.
Okay, that's what I thought. Now, on the next page, page 40, Station 203, it lists an engine, an M2033, which is the brush truck?
No, engine 203, and medic 2033 is our
Medic,
new,
okay. And then the BN 203 is the brush truck.
is the battalion truck, is the battalion chief that is on duty every day.
Okay. And then for ambulances, do all of the stations have at least one EMT?
Mayor McCaw, Councilman, all stations, all personnel for the fire department are medically qualified, whether they're an EMT or they're a paramedic. All the stations currently have a medic unit out of it. Engine 203 is an engine and a medic unit, can act as both. And Medic 2033 right currently is a peak hours ambulance.
And then stations 205 and 206 are on Fort Huachuca?
That's affirmative.
Okay, and then I would just want to say you're doing a great job because on page 43, the standard is 75% of all EMS calls within 7 minutes. You made that almost perfectly, so good job.
Thank you very much.
That's all I had.
Any other questions, comments?
I appreciate Councilmember Jones' attention to detail.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
It's good.
All right. If there's no other questions on the council executive report, go to item number D, report on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings. Any?
I'm going to go to the Memorial Day observance on Fort Huachuca next Monday.
Yes, sir. We'll be there as well. Any others?
And I do have some comments, if nobody else has.
Go ahead.
Okay. The top tier on the city's organization chart is voters. I fear that we're giving our residents/voters the impression that we want to make Paradigm happy at the expense of getting our voters happy. For example, we just got an email yesterday, and this particular resident says it better than I can. He says, like most other neighbors living around the golf center, I was pleased that the city was willing to take on ownership of the course. And, as I indicated in a letter to the Service Herald, I had high hopes for the success of the endeavor as a means of keeping the course green and open to the public. Sadly, I consider myself among those taxpayers betrayed by the city. I would never say the city or Paradigm do not have the right to hold events and make money. I do feel there need to be business model modifications that exhibit a higher level of sensitivity to the residents living around the course. So what I would request is that at the next work session, we discuss the Paradigm contract. And I would also ask that the city attorney provide an opinion on whether a contract change is needed to adjust the operating hours at the golf course. I do not think this is necessary, actually.
Right.
Whether Paradigm is responsible for damages to personal property, for example, broken windows, and I believe they are responsible. And then finally, during the Chief Procurement Officer's briefing to the council last August, she was careful to say that the city had an agreement with Paradigm, not a contract. I'd like to know what the distinction between an agreement and a contract is. Also, if one is available, I would ask that a Paradigm representative brief the council on what Paradigm does with comments/complaints received from residents. This appears to be the subject of several recurring complaints to the mayor and council. Finally, I would also segue into a discussion with staff on why they were reluctant to add a project on the golf course to the Sierra Vista Engage platform. So I'd like for us to discuss that at the next work session.
All right, we can pencil it in.
That'd
City
be an
manager,
agenda item, I assume.
We can put that as an agenda item.
Yeah, we'll need to talk to the city attorney because if we're talking about contracts and proprietary information, it might have to be discussed in an executive session.
Okay.
Yeah. You're right. Executive session, we'll have to do that in. All right. Any other comments? All right. So we'll go to item number Echo on future discussions, items, and council requests. Ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, my list is currently blank, but that has time to change. So We've got a couple weeks, but I don't currently have anything on my list.
Excellent. All right, excellent, and we will see you on Thursday. Thank you so much. We are adjourned.